everybody in the room. Happy Tuesday morning. It is June the 2nd. Believe it or not, it is already June and full speed ahead at that. So flying by. Good morning. We're extremely glad everybody is here with us this morning. Hope you're having a great morning so far. You're joining us on YouTube. Good morning to you as well. If you have questions or comments, please chat them in. If you're watching YouTube live, chat those in as well, and Julia will pull those over to the Zoom call where we can see them. And then if you're watching after the fact, you can go to auxiliary.uga.edu, click on the Auxiliary Connections tab, select Survey and Feedback, and you can leave your comments and questions there as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Randolph to get us started this morning.
All right, good morning. Can you all hear me, Catherine? Are we good to go there?
You are good to go.
Perfect. Good morning, Auxiliary family. As always, I am excited to be here. I'm looking at the numbers creeping up, and that always excites me because it tells me that we are gearing up for our fall readiness and to be there. So today we have to do a little bit of a shifting, and we have to pivot a little, but that's what we do. And so I wanted to just talk to you all about these three mantras that we have in auxiliaries. And we talk about thinking bigger, we talk about people first, we talk about our bubble organization. The question for you all is, what does that all have to do with fall readiness together? And I know you've been thinking about that. You've been hearing us talk about it, and the more folks hear, leaders and organizations talk about these things, there's a tendency for people to think that we're only talking to a certain group of people. So only a certain group of people should be allowed to think bigger, or only a certain group of people can do X, or only a certain group of people does Y apply to. That is not the case. And so what I wanted to do was just walk us through what these concepts are so that we all are on the same page. So the three are thinking bigger, people first, and our bubble organization. Again, we've heard them over and over. We've seen the diagrams that's been created, but I wanted to give us one more step. So what I will actually do is flip these to talk about these three things. I'll do a quick formal presentation and then chatting your comments, and then we'll address any questions you have as a result of those comments. So let's start first with the bubble organization. Let's see, there we go. So you've heard the description of the bubble organization. You see the little diagram to the right of the screen there. It really is this culture that exists and that should exist and that should be enhanced in auxiliary services, where communication is open, it's honest, and it has a number of different layers to it that makes it really effective. So for us, the bubble organization is this open and honest communication that gets done all across our units. And you see the illustration we've used, you see over here, we had this really restrictive form of communication where the walls are closed very tightly in, and somebody who's the white button here can only talk to somebody who's immediately above them. And even somebody who's above them can only talk to the people either immediately above or immediately below them. And that does not open up the room for the kinds of conversations that need to happen, as well as the kinds of innovations that need to happen. What we've been talking about is really opening up those lines to where there can be multi-level, multi-tier conversations going on all across the organization. So there can be conversation with people at your level. There can be conversation with people, open and honest conversations with people who you supervise. There can be open and honest conversations with people who either directly supervise you or in some cases are in the higher administration leadership of auxiliary connections. This is the kind of open and honest organization we want to foster. This is the kind of effective communication we want. So when you think about the bubble organization, I want you to think open, honest, and effective communication all across the division. Now, I've talked about the multi-level nature of it. I can talk up, I can talk down, I can talk sideways, I can talk perpendicular. I can speak all across so that I am performing my job duties in the most effective and efficient ways, but I'm also learning and growing. But third, and also equally important, that I'm also supporting not just my own goals, but the goals of the individuals who work next to me and the goals of the organization. The next part of that bubble organization, because what I'm trying to do here is to get you all to understand what it is and what it isn't. So a bubble organization, when we say open and honest conversation across all levels, doesn't mean that those conversations can be inappropriate, right? And that doesn't mean that we will open up all of the information, whether or not we figure the information out or whether or not we're still waiting on guidance. We will tell you everything and anything that needs to be out there. That's not how a bubble organization works. That's not how effective, open, and honest communication works. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, even right now, that we don't have. We, meaning people in leadership, that Robert doesn't have, that Ryan doesn't have, that Jared Moorhead doesn't have, that the Chancellor doesn't have. But as these information develop and reach a place of appropriateness where they can be shared, one of the commitments that we're making sure to give to you within our bubble organization is that those things will be communicated with you. A third part of what an open, honest bubble organization communication look like is communications that's confidential. And most of the time when you say confidential communications, people think if I'm coming to a supervisor and telling a supervisor something, then that should be a confidential conversation between me and that supervisor. 100% correct. The same applies vice versa. If somebody at my level is telling me something and they say, you know, I really want for you, I'm telling you this in confidence, I'm either ambiguous about the situation, I may or may not know how I really feel, or you know what, my emotions may be at its peak right now, and I just want to share this with you. I'm not prepared yet to go and speak with X or Y about it, but I just wanted to talk to you about it and get some thoughts and ideas. But again, I'm not prepared for that to be shared. We want you to be able to respect that same confidentiality. So the same way that your confidentiality will be respected by people who supervise you and hire, we want that same confidentiality in the bubble organization to be respected. In addition to that, if you are a supervisor and employees come to you and say, you know, I'm telling you this in confidence, and I would like for that confidence to be respected. There is a way for that confidence to be respected while you all find solutions. Now, what it is not, what confidentiality in the bubble organization is not, is if you come to, I'll give an HR example. If you come to somebody in HR, Carla or Katrina or myself around the employee relations side, and you say, you know what, I really don't like X, and I'm going to throw a spoon at them one of these days. There is no way that that can be confidential information. So confidential, or you say, you know what, I'm gonna beat them up after. We're clear we're not advocating for you to do this in any form or fashion. But if you say that to us, then we have to. There's no way we can respect that confidentiality because you're talking about inappropriately interacting with another member of the team. If you even go further than that, I'm going to kill, that can never be a confidential piece of information. We will call the UGA police on you as soon as possible. So I want you to understand, open and honest bubble organization communication is confidential, but it is not when inappropriate actions or statements are being made. The fourth piece about open and honest bubble organization communication is that there's solutions targeted. Now, this one is, I want you to understand the progression of how we get to solutions targeted. What I'm not saying is that if you feel emotionally, you can be angry or something else about somebody, or about a situation or about a policy implementation, I'm not saying that you come and you say, listen, I'm very angry and we won't listen to you because that is not solution targeted. No, we will listen to you. People at your level should listen to you. People higher than you or the people who you supervise, you should listen to them or vice versa in terms of solution targeted. So in order to understand what the issue is, what the emotions behind that issue is, what the actions that led to the issues that led to the emotions are, it's important to know that. But in a bubble organization where open and honest and effective conversation really lives and thrives, the conversation doesn't stop at, this is how I feel about X, this is how I feel about this policy, this is how I feel about this action, and it's left there. If you're in a peer level conversation, so that's that lateral somebody at your level conversation in a bubble organization, if you had a peer level conversation and somebody presents a problem, presents the emotions behind that problem, and on the third scale, presents the actions that really incite the emotions, listen respectfully. But before that conversation ends, a simple question can really open up a lot of the doors that are required for a true bubble organization. And that question is just, so how would you like to see this handled? What's your suggestion about how we deal with this particular issue or this particular individual or this policy implementation or this customer that really was disrespectful to you? So it's not just saying this is the problem. We will create the space for communications around an issue, but that space will always include an opportunity to at least propose some of the solutions that can address the issue at stake, the emotions behind the issue at stake, and the actions that prompt all of the other things that I've listed. The final piece, and I say final because it's on the screen, but a bubble organization has a lot more communications pieces. But just for our purpose today, a respectful communication is really key. Now, this to me is close to my heart, and most of you who I've worked with in dining have heard me say this, and I'll say it again. If you're in a supervisory position, I'll start with the supervisors and then I'll work my way down. If you're in a supervisory position, the expectation, our organizational expectation and requirements is that you interact, particularly around communication, you interact with people in a very respectful manner. Your position does not give you the authority and ability to be disrespectful to people. So if you're in a supervisory position, you even have a higher illness on your part to be respectful in every single communication that you do. Now, what respectful communication in a bubble environment and a bubble organization isn't, is where you're not asking somebody to pull their weight or to do their job efficiently and effectively. That's not disrespect. If I ask Katrina, or if I ask Craig, if I come to Craig and I say, Craig, I'm not really happy with what we output today in a presentation, and these are the things I would like to see, Craig can't tell me I'm disrespecting his job. That's not what that's not it. No, I am respectfully telling him ways that we can make our interactions better and make the return of value to the people who engage with us even higher. But what I can't do is berate Craig, belittle him, use inappropriate words or phrases or innuendos to comment on his performance. And so if you're a supervisor, respectful communication is particularly important. Let's get off the supervisors a little bit. And if you're sitting at your computer or you're on your phone, or even if you're watching this later on and you're nodding your head like, yes, 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 Randolph's coming to you as well. If you're not a supervisor and you're somebody's peer, respectful communication in a bubble organization also applies to you. You know, I like I told my wife the other day, I'm going to start practicing what they do at Chick-fil-A. You know, at Chick-fil-A, when they take your order and you say, oh, thank you very much. They use this phrase that every time I use this phrase, I feel good about myself, but I feel good about the reaction that I get from people. So thank you very much. And they say, my pleasure. right? And it's that level of communication. So you hand somebody something on a serving line, and they say thank you, and you say my pleasure. Or somebody come and maybe their emotions are getting the best of them, and they're speaking very loud and very forceful to you, and you say, I don't think you're ready to talk right now because I don't find the way we're communicating respectful. Maybe you need to take a minute and we can come back and talk when we both can be at a level where we can hear each other. That's what open, honest communication in a bubble organization look like. One that is respectful of people. I'm going to pause here, Catherine, and if I have any comments that come in before I move to the next piece of what we see in our organization, I'll be happy for that. So what do we have?
Robert said, sharing your thoughts on solutions and opportunities are always welcome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the only new thing other than the good mornings.
All right, perfect. We'll keep moving on. Again, I flipped what we had. So we went from thinking bigger people first to bubble organization. I actually want to make thinking bigger the last piece, because thinking bigger isn't just a Robert thing, right? It isn't just, Robert always says thinking bigger. No, thinking bigger is a mindset. And I was shocked to see all of the research in preparing for this particular presentation. I was shocked to see how much research goes into thinking bigger. Folks have written books on thinking bigger, and we'll talk a little bit. We'll just touch the surface of those, but I wanted to flip it because it's the all-encompassing part of what we do in Auxilary. So we did the bubble organization. We'll do people first next. Now, people first is particularly important. I see a hand, Catherine. I'm going to go ahead and take Morgan's comment. We can open up the line if it's easy to do.
Okay, give me just a second.
I know I'm throwing you a curveball. I'm sorry.
You are. It's what you like to do. I have to think sometimes. Let me get to. You said you saw a hand. I'm looking for.
Yes, it's Morgan. I saw Morgan's hand.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. So full disclosure.
Good morning,
Morning. So full disclosure, I was not actually trying to raise my hand. I was trying to hit the chat. It was right next to it. But I just wasn't deleting a thing because I was like, I don't even know how to say this right. And like, what? So what I was going to say is I worked for parking since 2001. And so I've seen multiple different leadership organizations come through. And sometimes I've heard buzzwords that make me feel like, oh, maybe they want, oh, no, it feels exactly the same. And so, like, I must admit, when I was first hearing all these things bigger, I was like, yeah, more buzzwords. But I must admit, this COVID thing and seeing how y'all are actually handling things has given me more confidence in my bosses and bosses and things like that I've had in decades. One of the first things that happened to me when I became a full-time employee in 2002 is my paycheck got messed up. And so I didn't know how to figure that out. So I just called one person, found out it was the wrong person, and then called the next person down on the list of, like, on this page, just people that might have something to do with it. And it was like Hank Huckney, somebody like pretty high up. And he fixed it for me. I was like, thanks. And then I get like bawled out a week later by somebody in parking that was like, why didn't you come to me? Like, you're supposed to go up the organization and you should reach the chain of command and all this stuff. And so I just, like, the very idea of a level organization was so anathema to was presented to me very early on in my job here that it took me a while to understand that it was for real. And so this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Morgan. I'm actually happy that you mistakenly raised your hand, because it is a real life example of why I wanted to put together this particular presentation, because these things are not buzzwords and they're not administration words. The requirements for how we interact and engage within our organization of auxiliary services. Something that you said that reminded me of a comment that I wanted to make. Listen, the bubble organization is not an easy concept to implement. So let's not think that, these communications at several different levels just come naturally and come easily. They do not. I will tell you a personal example. So for me, when we had the fireside chats, and when everybody else were doing the fireside chats, I got to sit in there and listen, and the managers and supervisors were not allowed to be a part of those fireside chats because we wanted to open up. We wanted people to feel comfortable in speaking their mind, and so it was fun. It was enjoyable. Those fireside chats were excellent. We got a lot of ideas. We got a lot of energy behind the work that we're doing, so I was happy. And then came the second week, and in that week, I think it was a Thursday, HR was supposed to have their fireside chat. And Catherine would tell you, so Catherine and Katrina and I, we were a part of all of the fireside chats, just in terms of the logistics of working them, but also listening to the feedback and then processing those feedback to see what we could do better from an HR standpoint, because we are chief people. So come that Thursday, and there's an HR fireside chat that's supposed to happen that I'm not invited to, and Catherine's not invited to it, and Katrina's not invited to it. And I will tell you, personally, I had to wrap my head around that. I thought, those are my people. If they got something to say, they can say it to me. And we have a great relationship, and we're good, and we're friends, and we're fine. But I had to identify within myself that those are not my people. They work for Auxilary Services. They work for the University of Georgia. They work for the University System of Georgia. They work for the state of Georgia. That's their people. I am just a part of the team, and my role isn't to quell what they want to say to leadership. My role isn't to pull them for myself and say, if you want to talk to my people, you got to go through me. My role isn't to say that Morgan can't talk to Robert, right? Morgan has to go through these 5, 6 different layers before she can get something accomplished. So it's really, really interesting, because until we make that mental shift, until we really realize that the bubble organization is not a mantra and is not a buzzword, but is not easy to implement, we would shy away from it and not really focus on making sure that we're implementing it. So if you're a part of leadership at any level, if you supervise one person within this organization, and you feel yourself feeling the way I felt, like, these are my people, I want you to understand that those are not unreasonable feelings and emotions and thoughts, but that you can say to yourself, hey, I am expanding the ability for my people to reach higher levels within this organization. And if I am doing my job appropriately, I want my people to talk to leadership, because I'm very confident that my people, the team that I'm a part of, will be able to talk about both the work that we're doing collectively, the work that they're doing as individuals, and my role in shaping that work. So bubble organization is not easy from a leadership perspective. It also is not easy from an individual contributor perspective. So if you're an FS1, if you're a parking deck attendant, being able to talk to Robert or Brett or Don means, going through, in your mind, it would mean going through several layers. It's not that difficult. It's not that onerous. You can just contact them and you will be able to talk to them. I'm sure some of you are thinking, but that's not how we used to do it. Yeah, I've never worked from home for this long before, and we've been able to shift. Right now, the way I'm presenting to you, I have never presented to 100, close to 200 people with no shoes on and shorts and a t-shirt, right? I'm loving it though, but that's not how we used to operate, and we're not gonna operate the same. So Morgan, thanks for those comments, and thanks for kind of reminding me to get back to that point that the bubble organization is not this easy thing to implement, but it has to be a deliberate effort on all of our parts. I'm gonna move forward a little bit in the interest of time and look at the second one, people first. So people first really is this, you've heard it over and over. And so what I did was I took you. I took Randolph, I took Michael, I took Jason, and I put you in the middle of the center. And so people first isn't just that the leadership. So I'm going to go clockwise. So people first, from a leadership perspective, means that regardless of what's happening, regardless of the policies that are being implemented, regardless of the instructions that come from the different places of influence that our leadership has to deal with, they will always take those instructions, take those policies, take those guidelines, and think, what does this mean for our people, right? So from a leadership perspective, people first means, how does this affect our people? How can we mitigate the impact? If some of those impacts are going to be adverse, how can we mitigate the adverse impact on our people? How are people going to be affected by this? And how can we support them through this process? So from a leadership perspective, that's what people first is. I can tell you, you all have no better, I should say we all, because I have a job, right? We all have no better example of what people first means from a leadership perspective than what we're seeing right now in terms of being able to work from home, being able to do some of these other opportunities we're doing, and still be able to be paid, you know, on a monthly or on a bi-weekly basis. Working down the clock, people first also, interestingly, isn't just about how leadership see you and how leadership interact with you. It inverts itself. So people first means how you and your colleagues interact with each other. Remember the my pleasure comment. Remember the thank you very much. Remember the, hey, we can't talk about this right now because you're a little emotional. Let's come back. Let's revisit it when we can actually hear each other. People first means that when I come back to campus and I am working and I am at a parking deck and there's a major event going on, or I'm standing directing traffic, or I am on a service line, and the tensions are high and the customer lines are long and we're tied up, that I don't forget that I'm working alongside a human being who is supporting me and I am supporting as well. So not forgetting that people first don't mean that I'm first, but that means that I also make sure that my colleagues who work directly next to me are treated as if they're first as well. So there's the leadership component, there's the collegial component. So people first, meaning how I make others first in my interactions with them. Another key and important part for us from a people first perspective is our customers. You know, we don't serve robots, right? We don't serve sticks. We serve human beings. And so people first means, how do we interact with other human beings and make them first? How do we interact with our faculty, our staff, our students, and other patrons that come and support us? How do we make them first? Through excellent customer service. And so don't just think you. Again, we're inverting the you of people first and saying we're going to ensure that in every action that we're giving exceptional customer service and making that customer feel like they are the only customer that we have in our particular auxiliary unit. I had an opportunity to engage with somebody at a store actually this morning, and this person was clearly overwhelmed and stressed, and they had to process something for me. And they went ahead and told me all of the things that were stressing them. Now, they're supposed to be just doing something simple for me. They, in fact, implicated some of their co-workers in the process. And Latasha, my wife, and I were standing there looking like, so why are you telling us all of this? This person said, I have to empty the truck, and I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I'm not Wonder Woman. And they went on, and we were thinking, we just wanted something really simple. If you can help us or you can't help us, but actually you're kind of stressing us out a little bit with all of this offloading you're doing. People first means that our customers don't really have to deal with all of the stuff we have to deal with in our auxiliary family. Now, families aren't always the big happy places. Sometimes families aren't happy with each other, but that doesn't mean that our customers need to be aware of that. That doesn't mean that we have to offload on our customers. But I will tell you, and I've said this to a lot of folks in auxiliaries, believe it or not, the way we part-time and full-time folks treat each other, students see that and students mimic that. If we're having posses and triads and dyads and the people that we only work good with and talk better to, students see that and they're actually appalled by that, or they join us and pick a side. And that is not what we want. So when we get back and we're fully operational, I want you to think people first in terms of not just what the leadership does for you, what you do with your colleagues, but how we perform and provide excellent customer service across the organization. People first also means policies and SOPs. Now, one of the things that we started to do from the HR side is we started to now rework with every single unit within auxiliaries to relook at the policies and SOPs and make sure that they're responsive to the current times that we're in. We're looking at it because in the back of our mind, what does this mean for a parking deck attendant? What does this mean for a bus driver? What does this mean for a stockroom person? You know, the whole 9 yards, and how are they impacted positively by all of this? People first for us means learning and development. I will tell you, you would not believe the hours that go behind a single session that you have an opportunity to see. And the content team of folks have done an amazing job, an incredible job putting these together. And it's not always an easy process, but I tell you, when we hear your feedback, when we see the numbers, we're continually encouraged to continue working. Now, this is not the end all and be all of our learning and development. So if you're in a leadership role, there is an expectation that you'll work with us in continuing to allow your people to grow and develop their careers. Even if you're not in a leadership role, there is an expectation that if you've been here for 10 years and 5 years and 20 years, that if you're working alongside somebody who's been here for 5 months or 6 months, that you're feeding them and that you're supporting their growth and you're supporting them, not with the bad habits that you've gotten over time, but with those things that make our processes efficient, make our interactions productive, and make our customers happy. The last part of people first is the legacy. The question for you really becomes, what is the legacy that you leave? Every single one of us leaves some sort of a legacy in the places that we work. For some of us, it's a legacy that smells, right? And when I say smells, meaning the minute you walk in the room, the whole room stiffens up. Nobody really wants to engage and interact, and people are uncomfortable around you. That's not what we're talking about. That's not the legacy that we want you to leave. We want you to leave a legacy of where when you walk in the room, people are excited you're there. People know you're going to be supportive to them. People know that your communications with them will be respectful. And even if you're off one day, people will say, maybe Randolph's having a bad day. Maybe Randolph's dealing with something. Let's give him some time and let's support him. Let's do what we can for him. So we can't talk about people first without understanding or recognizing what's going on in our country today in America. So our people are going to be coming. I'm watching the news, you watching the news. And those things aren't really exciting to see. I'll tell you, they're angering to see. As a Black man, some of that stuff is really angering to see. But I will tell you, I was watching the news yesterday, and I saw the protests, and I was saddened by the protests. But one of the things that really encouraged me was what I actually saw in terms of people protesting, that it wasn't just Black people protesting. It wasn't just Hispanic people protesting. It was all colors and all races protesting. And that for me was really encouraging. I'm going to read, if you haven't had a chance yet, the University of Georgia President Jared Moorhead decided to comment on this thing. So we can't talk about people first and ignore what's going on around us. And so I'm going to read Jared Moorhead's statement to our campus community, because Auxiliary falls right under that. And Auxiliary is going to do everything we can in our ability to make sure that we're putting each other first. We're loving one another. We're supporting one another. And although from the outside, all of these pressures come, we will be able to band together as one team and one family and work together. So if you haven't had a chance to see your Arch News that was sent out yesterday by President Moorhead, I'm going to read it. Because for us in auxiliaries, we're thinking about these things and we're thinking, how do we support our associates? How do we support every single member of the family in making sure that when they come to our space, they understand that we respect people for the human beings that they are. We love and we care for them. We may not always see eye to eye, but we know that we all are human beings. I'll read what the president said. He said, "Dear UGA community, I want to start by saying directly to each of you, I condemn racism in all of its forms. The senseless acts of violence and hate that are taking place across our country have no place in our society. To our Black students, faculty, staff, and alumni, I want you to know that I stand with you. The killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, along with too many others, have caused grief and adversely affected our lives and the lives of those we care about in significant ways. As these events have unfolded, I have worked with members of my administration to identify steps we can take to ensure that this institution is one where people are truly safe and supported. I want our university community to know that campus resources are available to support you, I encourage you to utilize them as needed to prioritize your well-being. Again, I want to reinforce my firm belief that racism has no place in our society. During my presidency, I have committed to working to create a UGA that is better tomorrow than it was yesterday. I know we don't always get it right and mistakes are made. However, together, we must continue to move this work forward in a constructive manner despite all the challenges. In the days ahead, let us move forward in seeking racial justice by engaging in thoughtful listening and constructive dialogue, showing care and understanding, and by demonstrating our ongoing commitment to do better while working together for a more united and just world. Those words really were encouraging to me. They helped me process some of the thoughts and emotions that I was having based on what I was seeing happening in our country. And the auxiliary family didn't want you all to think that we aren't paying attention and we aren't thinking about what are the impacts on the people who we work with and our customers who will be coming in the door. So we'll shift gear to the very last piece and then we'll leave some time. So the last piece right now, I'm going to stop my share for a second. The last piece that we're going to talk about is about thinking bigger.
Hey,
you know. Hey, baby.
can I have some money?
Sure. I'm gonna give her a 20. You know, 'cause I roll like that. No, it's my last 20, and I'm borrowing it from my wife.
Thanks.
You're welcome, baby.
But
Get out of here. So I solicited Raina in working with me on my little short corny skit because that's what most of us think when we think thinking bigger, right? So Raina, just FYI, you're getting many thumbs up. I'm going to share my screen again. All right. So, thinking bigger. I will tell you, thinking bigger, and again, this is something that Robert says a lot, but I think it's something that every single one of us need to adapt because it's not just an organizational thing, it can be a personal thing. So the first thing I would tell you is pick a side. And maybe you're wondering, what does that mean, pick a side? Pick a side, because there's people who think bigger. So they pick the side of, I'm going to think bigger in everything I do. I'm going to think bigger in every interaction I have. And then there's people who pick a side the other way. It's not going to work. We don't do it that way. That's going to be a problem. You know, they're the naysayers. So first of all, in this whole concept of thinking bigger, I want you to pick a side. There is no such thing as being on the fence. I'm going to be on the fence between thinking bigger and being a naysayer. No, in auxiliaries, we don't want naysayers. We want people to think bigger. And thinking bigger doesn't mean that you're always going to go along with the idea. No, no, no. It means that you're going to open your mind and open yourself and open your psyche to seeing what other possibilities exist. So in thinking bigger, one of the things, and their whole, believe it or not, their whole courses and their books that have been written on thinking bigger, we're going to ask, probably in one of the upcoming weeks, we'll ask Robert to just focus on some of the work he's done around thinking bigger, because he's taught some courses on thinking bigger as well. But thinking bigger isn't auxiliaries think bigger. It's blank, put your name, insert your name, think bigger. And here's what it is. So thinking bigger means being comfortable with discomfort. And a lot of us, we've got our set ways of doing things. And because we're so comfortable with the way that we do things, we don't want anybody to rock that boat. We get very emotional when that boat is rocked. You know, some of the changes that are happening make us uncomfortable. So we went from working every day in Athens at UGA, and some of us were uncomfortable. Some of us were happy to go home. We've been home for over 2 months. We're now hearing about that we're going to become operational very soon, fully operational very soon. Some of us have gotten used to, for the 2.5 months, being very comfortable where we are, and now we're getting uncomfortable with the fact that we're becoming fully operational very soon. Think bigger. Think bigger. Think bigger in terms of all that you've learned, all that you've seen, all that you've had an opportunity to now appreciate. How do you bring those back in the operational environment and make auxiliaries this better place? So thinking bigger doesn't always mean, well, it actually does not mean that we're going to build a third floor on top of Bolton. That's thinking bigger. No. That's not what thinking bigger is. Thinking bigger could be that, yeah, we have a 2-story dining facility. We're not adding a third story, but when a customer, when a faculty, when a staff member, when a community visitor from another state or from Atlanta or from another part of Georgia walks into Bolton, the environment and the feel and the service that they'll get will be so exceptional. We're expanding the quality of our service and our engagement and our interaction such that when they walk out of there, they're thinking, wow, I've never quite experienced that in a dining facility before. So thinking bigger isn't always building on. Thinking bigger is flexing and expanding some of the foundations that's already being created. Thinking bigger, how do you think bigger in terms of goals? You set the right kinds of goals. And this one I find to be very interesting, because people will say, well, if you think bigger, then there shouldn't be any goals. That's not what it is. I'll give you an example. I play soccer. I haven't played soccer in 2 months, and I can't wait to play again. But there was a point in time where I was playing 5 games a week. Now, here's the thing about thinking bigger. I know that at 41 years old, yes, I've just given my age, but I'm very proud of my age. At 41 years old, I am not going to be playing in the English Premier League. So I can tell myself, that's my goal. My goal, I'm thinking bigger. I'm going to be playing professional soccer in the English Premier League. No, but setting the right kind of goals. Your goals have to be realistic, but they have to also be audacious. You have to have an audacity. I believe I can do that. But knowing at 41 years old, I won't be able to play soccer at that level, it's also a realization I need to come with. I want you to ask yourself, in thinking bigger, again, it's not just about what you do for auxiliaries as an organization, but what you do for yourself. What are the goals that you tell yourself, I am going to think bigger about accomplishing this for myself, and I'm going to underline this, and you can erase that this and put it there for yourself. Because once people start going after and experiencing what it means to think bigger for themselves, they begin to think bigger for the immediate communities that they're in, and they begin to think bigger for the entire organization. So if Larry thinks bigger about what Larry can accomplish, then Larry thinks bigger about what the team at Obon-Pen can accomplish. Then the team at Obon-Pen thinks bigger about what dining can accomplish. And then the dining team things bigger about what auxiliaries, what the University of Georgia, what the state of Georgia, what the United States can accomplish in terms of interactions, in terms of services, in terms of innovation and the like. Thinking bigger, just like people first, has to do with supporting colleagues. How do I make his life easier? How do I make her life easier? What are the ways that I can support them while I do my own job? Does it mean that, the way I stand and take up this whole space and don't want anybody touching any of mine, and I've got mine in air quotes, my utensils, they're not yours, by the way, the UGA, but my utensils, how can I transcend that? How can I make sure that in a shared space that we're working together, that we're supporting each other, that we're picking each other up, and that the work that we're doing is effective? Thinking bigger means becoming the person who people want to help because they know that in similar circumstances, you'll help them. We were doing a presentation the other day. I think transportation and parking was doing a presentation, and one of the guests from Atlanta said something about challenges. And Robert quickly typed in, challenges are opportunities. But thinking bigger means viewing obstacles as more opportunities, being creative and finding the right avenue, collaborative brainstorming. And that's sometimes one of the hardest things to do because it's not always your idea that counts or your idea that's the correct idea. It's saying, I want to hear what you have to say. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you have to say. And we've given a lot of examples through these classes of what our individual contributors have done in terms of creating those innovative things that now are giving us opportunities to do more and to be better for the people we serve. Thinking bigger is starting with one step. You can think all you want, and if you never take that first step to either brainstorm or get other opinions or put it into practice, it's simply an idea. Thinking bigger is understanding the why, and understanding the why is kind of, I live according to that mantra where I look at where I want to be. I was in a conversation with Katrina the other day, and I said, this is the statement I want to make. And then I asked myself, what do I need to do to get to that statement? So I'll give you an example. I told her, I said, the statement I want us to be able to make is that the human resource team and auxiliary services at the University of Georgia is an industry leader in how to engage with auxiliary services employees, that we are at the cutting edge of the initiatives that we do, of our engagements platform, and that our people are showing us the results of those kind of innovation. I want people to be able to say, hey, if you're looking for an organization that really is doing good and striving and always thinking about how to better work and better encourage and better support and better period, their employees, go to the auxiliary services unit, talk to the HR people there because they're the ones. So that's the statement I want. And so for her, I was telling her, the question then becomes, what do we need to do in order to be able to achieve that? So it will be the same thing. So understanding the why and understanding what that end result is for you and working your way to get there. Last but not least, knowing that what you tell yourself, if Larry says, I can't be better, I can't think bigger, then Larry robs his team of thinking bigger and being better and other innovations. So identify what it is that you're afraid of and identify what that negative self-talk is and make sure that you address those things. So final slide, we call it fall readiness, but we didn't stop at just fall readiness. We call it fall readiness together. Why? One simple reason. I can never be successful in the work that I do if I don't do that work in consonance, in connection with you. You can never be fully successful. You can never self-actualize. You can never get us to a point where we are accomplishing some of the absolute best for our customers, for our clients, and for ourselves if we do them separately. You can never be a great employee if if all you strive for is you being told that you're a great employee in absence of how connected you become with the people who are around you, the people who are at your level, the people who are higher than you, or even the people who you supervise. Again, we can get ready for fall. We can have some little angst about what is it going to look like. We can have unanswered questions. But what I can tell you and what I can assure you is that together, we can achieve some wonderful things for ourselves as individuals, for our direct units, for auxiliary services, and for the University of Georgia. So, Catherine, I'm going to stop right here and take comments and questions or whatever else we have. So thank you all, and let's get fall ready. Begin to prepare yourself to be fall ready together.
Okay, I'm gonna let you stop sharing your screen so that you can go
I just did.
chats. Robert sent you a message, sent a one that he wants you to look at on thinking bigger that he wants you to address.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right. Is Robert in a place where we can unmute him?
I bet he is.
I'll read what he said while we wait for that. Or if you have him now, Captain, I see him. Hello, Robert.
Hello.
Watch there.
Always got to be stir in the pot a little bit. I just had sent you a message because it was supporting where you were going. I just wanted to send it to you so that you could look at it a little bit. But all it really said, thinking bigger, is about not listening to what the question is, but asking about why the question is coming up and how we can go beyond what our expectations are based on our experiences. And really what we're talking about is, you know, if all we're doing is listening to the question, we're not really hearing why the question's being asked. And often we only respond with a question based on the knowledge of what we have. And, you know, going back to when we started looking at meal plan changes, and I was talking with the student government, and the student government came in and they said, we want a lunch-only meal plan for commuter students. And I asked why. Because the why is a great part of all of that. We need to be able to have people come in and feel connected, and opportunity to always be able to know they can come in and ask the question, but we want to dig deeper. We don't want to stop with what the question is. We want to be able to dig into why the question's being asked. Because sometimes if all we do is respond to the question, we're not really getting to why the question is being asked. We're just hitting the surface and we're not really solving the problem.
Absolutely. And there may be members of our team who you're not there yet with these concepts. You're not there yet in the implementation of these. It's quite okay. We again, our bubble organization is such that we can work with you to answer the questions that you have. But like Robert is saying, to take questions from you also that makes us better. So this is where we want to be. This is where we strive to be. These are some of the requirements we're going to put on our leadership. But just understand that this is not a senior leadership stuff. This is all of our things. And so far, I can tell you, and I've said this probably 100 times in all of our sessions, I feel alive. I'm having one of the best professional working times in my life than I've ever had by working with you all here in Auxiliaries. I see Bill's hand. Can we unmute him?
Hey, Randolph.
Morning, Bill.
Hey, morning, everyone. You know, when we talk about thinking bigger, I think back to this week earlier where we had a milestone of the U.S. launching 2 astronauts into space, and it was done by thinking bigger, by the government, the country, private industry, all working together for that common goal of being able to push those astronauts beyond the Earth to the International Space Station. And I mean, it's just that's a great example of thinking bigger, you know, being able to recover the rocket You know, that was something that, you know, was science fiction a few years ago, but it's all thinking bigger. And we can apply that, like you said, to our own organization and our own processes. You know, just because we've done it that way doesn't mean we always have to do it that way. We don't have to use rocket boosters in the ocean. We can recover them now. It's that thinking bigger that is going to drive us, like you said, to be the go-to for people to come and see cutting edge technology, cutting edge. You know, we've got that with the buses, we've got it with dining, we've got it with transportation. I mean, parking. It's just we continue to be a leader in the nation, and it's because we don't rest on our laurels. And you know, the culture of thinking bigger is just simply growing, and I hope that others will take that on and put it in, like you said, put it into their personal lives, then their professional, and then it'll grow throughout the division and to the university. So that's what I want.
Yeah, no, thank you, Bill. And I like the growing piece, and it's just not, it's growing even in relationships around us, right? It's making sure that as I think bigger about my own goals, that I am not running away and leaving folks behind. I am grabbing people with me and say, come on, let's go. Let's think bigger. Give me your ideas. Let's put them. Catherine and Brett laughed at me a lot because in my culture where I was born, we call it hanging heads, meaning everybody come and you sit around and you sit there and you talk, meaning your head is hung and you're collecting ideas. And so when I tell the HR team, you know, we need to hang heads on this, meaning we need to sit down and just deliberate. We need to look at the opportunities. We need to face whatever challenges are there and see how we can respond to them. And it's just, again, it's this collaboration, right? One of the things that I like when I came here that was said was we don't go after awards. We go after doing those innovative things for our people, our processes, and our customers. And then the awards definitely will follow. Any other thoughts or questions or comments, Catherine?
No, a lot of thanks. Let me see. Hang on, let me spread this out so I can see. Brett said we can and should think bigger about what it is we do. Like the NASA example, custodian wasn't just cleaning; he was helping send someone to the moon. All of you are helping our students to be their best and productive and produce results that are yet to be seen. So.
Well, just final words from me is just thank you all again for the experience. Thank you all for what you're doing. I will say, you will hear us say over and over and over, prepare yourself to come back to an operational auxiliary. Prepare yourself to think bigger. Prepare yourself to put our people first, and prepare yourself to be your best self. I will tell you, since Robert is still on, if you don't have one of these, see that? If you don't have one of these, talk to Robert and Allison and get one. So put in a request for one of those Think Bigger shirts. It says auxiliary service here at UGA. And that's who we are. That's what we want to do. So finally, you know, can't say bye with our tortilla man saying bye to all of you. So goodbye. Enjoy yourself this afternoon. We see you at 2 o'clock. We will have Bill and his team presenting on what does fall readiness mean from an IT perspective. So take care, y'all, Catherine.
And Mike with the data analytics, business analytics. Mike will be there as well.
All right. Well, take care, y'all.